All right, everybody ready?
Yes.
Okay. Well, first off, Carl, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, first off, thanks very much for joining us today. We appreciate everyone being here. We at Grandma's Marathon are so very thankful today, and as we've gone through the start to 2021 for the continued support we've received, not just from the local community, but also the worldwide running community and the broader community that we're able to reach with our event. The response we've received since opening our registration in October has been so incredible. Our half marathon was full in just 13 and a half hours. Our full marathon and 5K events were full just before Christmas. There are challenges ahead of us, to be sure, and our staff is very excited and committed to tackling those head-on as we enter 2021 and doing whatever we can to bring our event back to Duluth this summer and to the shores of Lake Superior. That said, in an effort to give our event the very best chance of doing that and returning with an in-person event in June, we've decided to keep our current half-capacity field limit for 2021. This means we will not be reopening registration for in-person participants, as we hoped we could when registration opened back in October. This was obviously a very difficult choice because we know the popularity of Grandma's Marathon. We've seen it throughout the years, and we know that a half-capacity event we expect will be disappointing to lots of interested participants, both from our community and around the world. These race limits were developed over several months with input from a variety of local and state partners and our medical team, including our medical director, Dr. Ben Nelson from Essentia, who you have a statement from today. We believe committing to these field numbers now allows us the necessary time to continue working with the appropriate people, both at the local and the state level, on approval of our COVID-modified race plan ahead of June. Considering where the current state guidelines are and with what's happening to events just like ours all around the world in terms of cancellations and postponements, we will feel very, very fortunate as an organization if we're able to hold our half-capacity in-person event this June. If there is anyone, and we're sure there is, still interested in participating in our 2021 event, we would encourage you to reach out to one of our several official charity partners. They need your help now more than ever in a challenging 2021. You can sign up with one of them, fundraise throughout the year, and if you reach your fundraising goal, you will receive a complimentary entry to one of the 3 Grandma's Marathon weekend events in 2021. So that's a great option if you're still interested in running in person in 2021. Of course, you can still run any of the 3 events virtually as well. More information on both those options can be found on our website, grandmasmarathon.com. So right now, I'm going to invite our Duluth Mayor, Emily Larson, up. She'll say a few words, and then she and our Executive Director, Shane Bauer, will be available to answer any questions that you might have. So, Mayor?
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Oh my gosh, first of all, it's great to see people. Can we just say that for a moment? It's really wonderful to see you. Thank you for being here. Thank you to Grandma's Marathon for the hard work that you do to put in a really thoughtful plan to ensure that people can participate in this premier event and to do so safely and within the confines of what feels safe for participants too. So thank you. I know a ton of work goes into this event every year. We're so proud to be the municipal host of this incredible series of events. And whether it is from the Young Athletes Foundation that Grandma's Marathon works so hard with, or the 5K, the half marathon, the full marathon, the series of events that lead up to it, it's a really exciting showcase. And it's a way that a lot of people feel connected. That tradition of going down to cheer on people who they know are running, the tradition of providing entertainment around the route, the tradition of hanging around the finish line, enjoying the music, or running in it. So I know I was one of the people who really was sad, actually, to see this event not take place last year the way we had all expected. And it feels great to be able to start 2021 with a piece of good news, because we've had a lot of not so good news. And the great news, actually, is that Grandma's Marathon has put together this very thoughtful plan, and they're providing this opportunity for people to participate in person and virtually. I was one of the, I think, 600 runners you mentioned, Shane, who participated virtually last year, who entered after registration had closed. So again, thousands of people were able to participate virtually, but then they opened up the opportunity for people like me who hadn't registered yet to then also participate in the events. And it was really, really fun to be able to know that I was still participating in Grandma's Marathon. It was different. It felt different. I was a lot slower, I'll be honest, than you are when you're running with the crowd. And still, it was what we could do, and that was enough for 2020. This year, we get to have the combined experience, and that is really tremendous. So my deep gratitude to grandmas, their staff, their board, their medical director. These are incredibly complicated events right now in the era of COVID. Not only are there the health considerations, now, all the things that we know now, but then all the things that happen that you can't control. You've got thousands of people. You're trying to do the best you can to get everyone across that finish line. And so this is a really complicated event. We're so proud of Grandma's Marathon for coming to this point to be able to proudly say that they welcome people to participate in person. We are capping that. They have chosen to cap that. It's a great choice to protect the health and welfare of participants and still give that opportunity for people to participate virtually. So we all hope, I know, that 2022 we are back to full capacity, and we'll just take each week, each month, each year as it comes and as it goes, and figure out the best and the safest and the healthiest plan to support this incredible series of events. So with my deep gratitude to Grandma's Marathon, I'm really happy to be here and be a part of just celebrating that this event will go on in this new way, in this great way, in the best way for 2021.
Any questions for Grandma Larson before we bring Shane up?
Shane's the answer man.
Well, Greg's here too as race director. I mean,
Right.
Depends on the question, I guess.
Yep.
So if there's no questions for me, I have no problem.
I just want to know what other, COVID modifications you guys are doing as far as, mask wearing, hand sanitizers, and things like that. What's going to be available on race day?
Sure.
Can we take that one?
Sure, you were great, but let's do it later.
Okay, thank you. Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, so what kind of other modifications are runners going to have with on race day as far as do they have to wear masks, or is there going to be hand sanitizer available for them and all that stuff? Any other changes?
Absolutely. You're going to have to expect to be wearing a mask pretty much the entire weekend, except perhaps while you're running. And then hand sanitizer, I'm guessing you're going to see it everywhere. That's a very big question, though, because this is all the stuff we're figuring out right now. And it's more than just a race weekend, obviously, with the expo and this Michelina Spaghetti Dinner. The Essentia Health Expo is a big one I have on my computer literally right now in its second revision in how to move people safely through these places and try to stay within state guidelines on this stuff. To be clear, right now we're just hoping we're putting together the best plan we possibly can, which will involve all those things to submit to the local officials and at the state level to be able to do this. So we could probably talk all day about everything that goes into that, because we're basically redesigning the entire Grandma's Marathon weekend this year. It'll look a lot different, but it'll still be the Grandma's Marathon experience that everyone's grown to love and what they come here for. So we're hoping we can do our half-capacity event at the quality everyone expects.
So you guys are still trying to figure out what to do as far as if you guys are going to let the fans or
just the amount of volunteers we need to do that?
Yep, there's a lot of that stuff in the works. Some of the stuff we already have nailed down and modified in a way that we think is probably close to ready to submit just based on other things that are being allowed. We're doing things that we know are safer than what these things that are already being allowed are. But there's certain parts of the weekend that, yeah, when it involves alcohol, that's a big one right now with the state guidelines and the numbers they see increase as alcohol consumption increases. And obviously we have a big party for all the finishers. So that one's still in the works. And there's a couple other pieces like that we have to figure out. And there's so many different ways to approach it that as a staff, these are very long discussions that we're having weekly at this point. And hopefully soon we'll have it nailed down to like, this is the best option to be able to do this come June. So, and then of course, with all the uncertainty, maybe this opens up a little bit. Maybe the guidelines relax. I don't know. Maybe we have no idea what to expect. So from a special event planning perspective, we're lucky to have some experts on staff here because it's been a big challenge, but it's exciting too. I mean, it's fun to work on this stuff. This is kind of like what I enjoy the most is the logistics, figuring out this stuff. So we're all confident we'll find a way.
Within those logistics, what are the precautions you've taken to ensure volunteer safety?
Spreading them out is number one, and then of course the equipment that they'll be wearing, not only to be able to be around each other in a distance way, but to be able to possibly provide water for the runners in some way. So aid stations would be another one that we're probably in our second, third revision. Greg, our race director, and I were just talking about it last night for, oh boy, a couple hours, I think, before we got out here of that conversation. So there's a lot of that stuff to still figure out. But I will say we've learned a lot in what we can do from being one of the first event organizations to have a race last year. The Park Point 5 Miler was one of the first races to come back during the pandemic, and we learned so much. I mean, that was so spread out and safely done, we think, that it was almost ridiculous to be at the finish line, and it was a runner every 10 minutes even, how we spread that out. And now we've figured out ways to do wave starts where people are socially distanced during the start, and we've got I could actually call Greg up here to talk more about, but we're getting into the crowd science of this, working with an expert from Europe who does this. This is his role around the world as he works with races to determine how many people you can have at a start, how many people are going to end up coming through a finish line based on those numbers and throughout the entire race course. And like I say, that's kind of the fun part. So.
One more question for me. With the vaccine rolling out, has there been any talks of people having to get vaccinated before they run, or what are some precautions you're going to be taking as far as taking your temperature and all that stuff?
There's been talk about it, but there's way too much uncertainty. It doesn't sound like anything with the vaccine is going to really affect June at this point. We've learned anything can change. Last year, I would have been up here talking about how we're going to come back bigger and better for the 45th anniversary. Now we're hoping to be able to do a half-capacity event for the 45th anniversary. So obviously anything can change, but it doesn't sound like the vaccine is going to have a big impact on the safety of events as far as showing that you've been vaccinated or stuff. There's talk of it. Like I say, it could change, but as of right now, and then with the slower rollout than what they planned, the precautions that we take are going to be far more important than that, I think, at this point.
How many folks have registered so far?
That's a good question. Does anybody have the registration number? Are we at 9,000 yet?
It's 9,500.
9,500. Yeah. So we have a certain number that we can take, and then of course we have to work with sponsors. Our charity partners can still take entries. They're included in the numbers. That will be a final number. So it'll change a little bit, but it's essentially half the usual, which is around 20,000 people, 20,000 registrants on marathon weekend. Did you guys want to ask Greg anything as race director about the other safety precautions?
Yeah, if there's no other questions for Shane, I think
Just call him up here in case you guys have anything else.
Talk a little bit more about the crowd science.
Greg, what's the last name?
Last name is Hoppala, Haapala. And yeah, again, Greg Hoppala, I'm the race director with Grandma's Marathon. I think Shane touched on many of the aspects that are, most pertinent. The biggest thing is, like you said, we're working on all of these things right now. So much is unknown, but we're taking a very conservative approach, trying to be as safe as we can, working amidst the current guidelines, and then being ready to, if we can, step back and open it up a little bit more, then we will. I think what's important is we're really being collaborative, obviously working with our city and agency partners, our medical team, but also other races around the world and the country and our industry. We have multiple, multiple kind of professional organizations that we work with among safety and security for marathons, and we're partaking in conversations with those groups to see what the best practices are out there, which are obviously being decided right now. We are working with the University of Manchester in England actually has a crowd science institute, and we're using their tool to work on the crowd dynamics and looking specifically at our race course, the exact measurements of it, how we move people up to it, and how we can, what the pace is that we can let people off of the start line to have kind of a rolling start so that our crowd density on the race course and at the finish line never exceeds the distance that it should be. So, any questions around that? Otherwise, yeah, we're just going to keep working on every aspect that we can to be as safe as possible. And as we do, as we do determine some of these aspects and have a plan that we can share, we will be updating our website, grandmasmarathon.com, with that information so that both the runners and community at large can continue to see what to expect. And we're really going to put a focus on educating everyone around with what to expect for marathon weekend. So we don't want it to be a surprise. We want everyone, whether it be wearing masks at the events or knowing how you will load a bus, get to the start line, how you'll move around the weekend. We're going to share as much as we can in advance so that people are fully aware and can prepare for the weekend. All right, thank you.
Cool. All right. I think that's it. Thanks, guys, for coming. We appreciate the time. If you have any other questions that come up throughout the day, obviously you can call.
You're going to close your history.